Alright, hello everyone, my name is Riku, and I just, on a whim, decided I'd give it a shot at providing a tutorial on how to fish. And, boy, there's a lot to talk about. I'm going to be touching on, just decent ways to get fishing experience, decent tactics to keep in mind when tackling tougher fish, and try my best to explain how the minigame works, because there's a lot to talk about. So, first off, whenever you decide to start fishing, the first thing you're going to want to do is obviously get stable rod, a stable reel, and a stable line. And honestly, the best place to go to learn how to fish, at least in my opinion, is the Vesper Pool East Bank, because it's got a nice little shop here that you can buy pretty much everything you need. First off, you shouldn't ever be using anything besides the Dragon's Beard. It's just kind of a given. As soon as you unlock this shop, it shouldn't be too expensive. You can get about 10 of them, and still have enough change left over to get yourself these rod components here. Now, I'm not sure if these pieces here are unlocked right off the bat. However, I know once you obtain them, it's gonna be the last thing you're using until you tackle the Merc Grouper fishing side quest with that one dude in that one place with that one thing. You're gonna be using the Nereid and the Death Spin for a long time, at least long enough to get your fishing level up to 10, and then you can tackle the side quest, and then you'll get a really good rod setup. I forget exactly what it's called. Let me check on that real quick. The Aviar, which is an attack of 280, so some of the weaker fish are just going to go down in like 2 seconds, and a lot of the tougher fish will go a lot faster. And then the Dragon Drain, defensive 230, so your line is basically going to be taking chip damage from some of the medium-sized fish. The little fish, even if your tension goes red, you're going to be taking like 1 point every second. And as soon as you get that out of the way, I'm going to say the best way to gain fish experience and to get into like the mindset of how fishing works is to go after this bad boy right up here, the Vesper Gar. The fish experience is actually invisible. It's never revealed to the player. It's only given to you whenever you rest at a camp or hotel or whatever. But the Vesper Gar, in my experience, gives a good chunk. I think it's based on just how much HP your line loses, and how many it's like tallied down based on how many fish you've caught, how much line you've used, and how much damage you deal to fish. It's just like all sorts of factors go into the fish XP. But the Vesper Gar is just, in my experience, one of the best ones to farm fish XP off of. It got me to level 10 in, I want to say, from like level 4 to level 10 in like less than 2 hours. It's been a long time, but it was really fast. And you can use the Stinker Grape Marlboro, which the shop I'm sitting in front of sells also, and you can also tackle the Noble Arapaima whenever it pops up. So, because these guys go after the same lure. And another thing, if you took part in the Chocobo Mog Festival, the Koopa Berry Cheesecake is fantastico for fishing. It reduces damage to your line by 25%, which may not seem like much, but when one giant fish you're tackling, like the Vesper Gar, for instance, is dealing massive amounts of damage anytime your tension goes red, this makes a difference in the long run. Because a lot of the time, whenever you're tackling the big game, you're going to have little to no line left at the end of the game. You may scrape by with only like 88 HP remaining. It's pretty ridiculous. So decreasing damage to fishing line is fantastic. If you don't, there's not really any food that I've gotten so far that helps, but I've been kind of lazy with my dishes, as you can see. Just question marks everywhere. Now, with that out of the way, let's go ahead and try to snag ourselves a fish, and I'll do my best to explain exactly how it works. So first off, you want to go to your tackle menu, set up your rod, do Dragon's Beard, nothing else. And this is actually important. The reason you want to have a lot of Dragon's Beard on you is when you're tackling bigger fish, they will chew through most of your line's HP, so you're going to have to refresh it by just going into the menu and re-equipping it. So you waste Dragon's Beard doing that if you take little damage. So if you're getting, let's see, we're farming the Vespergar, I would say, if you're just learning how to, if your Dragon's Beard gets lower than 1700, then go ahead and switch it out. There's, well, just in case the Noble Arapaima shows up and you don't want to waste your lure to that thing, because the lure is expensive. If you have the Tidal Might Leviathan, I have no idea how I got this thing. I think it's a DLC bonus, just the angler set, I believe. It gives you the Tidal Might Leviathan. It's fantastic for this, as well as the Big Blaze Bahamut, I believe. But if you don't have that, then the Stinker lure, wherever they are. Whizzed right past them, didn't I? Yeah, here they are. The Great Marlborough Stinker is perfect for the Vespergar as well as the Noble Arapaima. And then, get your rod set up, your reel set up, and then you should be good to go ahead and start. And the Vespergar, I believe, is the smaller yellow dot, and the Noble Arapaima would be the giant yellow one. Now, the lure, this is actually an important mechanic, and I don't honestly know entirely how it works, but the general rule of thumb, that's not a Vespergar, is it? The general rule of thumb is you throw out your lure, and then once you snag the fish's attention, you let the lure sit there for a moment, and then just kind of twitch the R2 button in random directions every so often. Like, don't mash it or hold it or anything. You just want to tap it a couple times just to get the fish's attention, and as the bar keeps growing, you're going to keep tapping it in the direction you were holding that made the bar grow. And this is just fluff. I just totally skipped over the minigame. But that's how the lure basically works. And Crag Barramundi is not bad for XP either. It's pitiful, but we want the big snake dude. I missed. And if there are exceptions, but if the fish doesn't pick up on your lure like immediately, go ahead and pull it back and try again. You just want to aim it right over the fish until your reticule turns yellow, and then just hope he doesn't move while you're tossing the rod out there. Hang on, let me check. Yeah, you just let it sit for a moment. Just tap it. I got the wrong fish. It's kind of a read. I don't entirely understand how it works. But if you see the bar grow, just kind of tap it repeatedly in the direction that it goes. Sometimes it's RNG. Sometimes they just completely ignore you. And then once the actual minigame starts, I can show you strats. At least my strategy on how to do it. As long as they quit trolling me here. Yeah, you're not a gar, but you'll do. Come on. Ooh. That's a biggie down there. Yes. I got the small one. Okay, so the actual minigame. Basically, anytime the left stick appears on screen, you just turn it towards whichever the fish goes. You can also keep track of this by which direction the camera is going. And then what you'll do for bigger fish, when you have it in the direction, when the controller is not vibrating, you just tap R2 occasionally, and just to make sure if it randomly changes direction on you, you don't waste any unnecessary HP. It's just easier to react to, so if you tap the R2 button occasionally, it just makes it easier to react to, at least for me. And I do not know where the Vesper Gar is. I don't know why he's not popping here. Are you there? No, you're not a Gar. But you'll do. I need more examples. If you need to, just let the lure sit there for a second so the fish can think about what direction he wants to chase it. There we go. Now, once you feel the controller vibrate, let go of R2. That is the most important thing, because that basically is conveying to you that the fish is struggling and trying to swim away, and all that is it raises the fish's defense and it raises the attack it does to your line's HP. So you're going to be just wasting your efforts if you're trying to pull it in during that phase. So just follow the fish whenever the controller's vibrating, don't reel it in, and then once it stops, you can just start tapping R2 just to keep track of it. And then once it switches directions, just whoop, right off the other side. And the QTEs that pop up are much easier than people think they are, but they are a double-edged sword, because the QTEs in no way convey what direction the fish is actually going to go. Yeah, I know, Bokeh went back to the post. It's literally just a QTE that does nothing to convey to you what the fish is behaving. Like, the only reason it exists is to deal just a little tiny chunk of damage on their HP, on the fish's HP. And the thing that's annoying about it is once the QTE is over, the fish will randomly decide which direction it's going to go, and that's pretty much a read after that. You have to read which way the fish is going to go to not lose any unnecessary HP. But it does do a huge chunk of damage, and it does pacify them a little bit, so you can get quite a bit of HP off of them, but you could lose a lot of HP yourself. So, it's the best way I can explain it, but Vesper Gar, either the east bank or the north bank, I believe, is a good place to farm that fish. They're being brats to me right now, but the place to find them is the east bank is like a straight shoot from the parking spot for the Vesper pool, just right there, and then the north bank is just right up here by the Stale Grove dungeon. And it's like, if you need fishing XP, the Vesper Gar is the best way to do it. He also gives the food the Vesper Gar gives you is actually pretty awesome. I think it like doubles your strength stat, but it reduces your magic to 0. So if you're not a magic caster like me, you're just like bruising your way through combat. It's a pretty nice buff. But in conjunction with the Kupo Berry Cheesecake, the rod and reel, and the dragon's beard that you get from this shop right here, just practice these methods at this fishing pool right here, and you should get the hang of it pretty soon. It's unfortunately not I won't say well designed, but it's not well taught to the player exactly how this minigame works. You have to get a feel for it. The more you do it, the simpler and more understandable it becomes. And one thing I will recommend, whoops, wrong one, is I wouldn't recommend starting to fish here until you're at least fish level 4. So I would start out by Golden Key, just fishing there, just trying to get a feel for it while you're over there, and then once you get over here to figure out how to tackle the big monsters, this is a great way to just better yourself into the higher level fishing. But next to Golden Key, there's like 2 fishing spots over there that are decent for baby steps to just get yourself acquainted with the minigame, just the minigame itself, and then the fishing spots next to the Vesper pool is a great way to get yourself into the higher level fishing. And I will also recommend not to tackle the Noble Arapaima or the Merc Grouper side quest mission until at least level 7. I beat it I got it when I was like level 8 or 9. Just because it's much easier to manage. It's like normally it would recommend you do it until level 10, but by then you're kind of overpowered for fishing if your gear is up to point. Other than that, it's just a feel thing. You have to get used to it. You have to just get accustomed to how fishing works and tapping R2 instead of holding it so you don't waste unnecessary HP. Learning when the fish is going to turn, getting a feel for the fish's individual behavior with the lure, and just compensating for RNG, because there is at least 50% RNG involved with this, if not most of it. And that's how you fish. Best of luck, and getting to fishing level 10 is really not that difficult. It's just tedious as fuck. But getting any of these guys to level 10 is hella tedious. I think Prompto was the one I hated the most, because I had to snapshot spam in every fight I went to. Anyway, that's how you fish. Any comments, criticism, concerns, please let me know in the comments below, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.